Welcome to this latest video from Fusion IM, the third in a series of discussions about Oil and Gas UK's Digital Maturity Report. The importance of digitalisation in the oil and gas sector is highlighted in the report, but what needs to happen in the sector to ensure it fully benefits from the technology available to them? With me are Fusion IM Executive Chairman Steve Pearson and Neale Stidolph, Head of Information Management at Sword. Neale, turning to you first, just tell us a little bit about what this report is.
Yeah, I would say it's really a stake in the ground to look at a range of operators of different types and sizes, people in the supply chain and consulting and services businesses working with them. So a number of bodies wanted to say, well, where are we? And to have that done in an independent way, so it was not commercially led.
Hey, so to get companies that may be thinking about making that first steps into digitalisation, having read the report and thinking it's something that they need to do, let's sort of discuss some tips of things that they need to do. So Steve, start off, if a company's about to make the first steps towards digitalisation, what should they be thinking of?
Yeah, so I've got a few tips from 30 years of working in the industry on the basic data collection side and the build side. So I think my first thing is I wasn't surprised at all. I've been going to conferences for 30 years. I wasn't surprised to see the report was homing in on the importance of data. And obviously that should be everybody's priority. So I think that's my first tip, is really genuinely focus on getting your data sorted out. You've got a lot of good legacy data, bring it together. It's more important to get the data right, and the technology then can sweat that data. I think the other thing I find is one of the best things I ever heard was from a super major when they said to us that you're the experts, we're here to learn from you. I thought that was such an inviting comment. And I do find a lot of companies, they employ an expert and then tell them what to do. So I would say, look, use experts. They've got a lot to offer, but let them do their thing. That way you'd make some progress. The other thing that came out in the report, which I totally agree with, is the advocating using a neutral data model to store your data. They're not expensive. It's a good way to move. And then use APIs to connect the technology to the data. That was a good tip within the report. My other tip is to genuinely exploit the supply chain. The EPCs, the suppliers, people like ourselves have really good data of high quality. And the operators tend to think they're the only ones with the good data. There's a lot of people out there with knowledge and information about operators going back 20, 30 years. So there is data to be had outside the supply chain. And that's thing for me is I did read in the report, I always say, like, obviously, if you always do what you've always done, then you'll always get what you've always got. And I found that was a Henry Ford quote. So that was quite interesting. My final tip is that, and I'd say to people is, look, there's never enough money or time to do it right, but there's always enough money and time to do it again. So I think, get it right first time if you can, and you'll get to the end result quicker.
Thanks, Steve. Some good points there. Then, so Neale, go on, add to that.
Yeah, I think there's the trite answer, which is to say, have a good business strategy that's clear and visible to all. But honestly, in these things, you need a big rallying point. So usually that would come from a top executive who's prepared to say, I'm not paying lip service to this. We are really doing this, such as a number of the super majors have done, in particular on energy transition. This is the direction we're going, and I'm accountable for it. So the crisis we've seen and people having to work remotely and do things differently has galvanized folks. So we need a similar rallying cry around modernisation, use of digital techniques. So I think that's super important. But you have to make sure you've got the capacity and the capability. So for sure, we work mostly in a blended mode. So we help customers add people to their teams or add consulting expertise. You've got to make sure you have access to both. And the demands can go up and down, so you need flexibility there. And also recognise there are risks to be taken and there is investment that's required. So you can't set off down a path and then say, oh, well, we're just into it, but we're spending money, we've decided to stop. So if you're in it and see it through, just as we have done with the pandemic response.
Steve, you talked about employing the experts. Obviously, Fusion and Sword have quite a successful partnership working together and supporting companies. Can you both just tell us a little bit about how the two companies work together? Steve, do you want to start us off?
Yeah, I think we both work in the sector, data management and information management being really important. I think one of the things that we recognise that we need to do for our clients is provide them with a benchmarking analysis and a business case. to support change. You know, this report is good. And next thing they'll be saying, well, how do I do that? How do I convince everybody in our organization to move? So I think that's one area we provide support. The other area is we've got some of the answers. You know, we've provided neutral data models to super majors and operators. We have APIs. So we do suggest and recommend to people that they sweat the existing data by bringing it all together. So we've got answers, you know, and we've been there, worn the T-shirt, as you say. I think having a proven track record on the world's largest projects is important. You know, when we're talking to people who want to embark on this, you know, having a trusted partner that can facilitate success, I think, is really important. I think the other thing is we've got lots of use cases and using the technology. People talk about robotics and artificial intelligence and things like that. We've got practical examples of how that benefits the industry. So I think these are the things that we bring to the game. And Neale's got other things that he could mention about Sword, so I'll let him take over.
Yeah, Neale, so obviously when the report talks about the increased collaboration, obviously this is a great example of how collaboration works and how you bring it to the table for big projects. Tell us it from your perspective.
Yeah, I think it's a partnership that works really well. So what Sword bring to the party, I guess, some of that is scale. So there's a confidence factor we can help bring to largest engagements anywhere, which is reassuring. We've got the funding to support long-range planning, and we've been acquisitive. So we've not only partnered, but we've bought companies in particular specialist areas. So that's particularly the subsurface domain. So we're there doing a lot of the ongoing services. So Steve's team in particular are bringing in deep expertise on the engineering data front, which fits very well. And we have ongoing support provided in things like document control, subsurface data management, records management, data governance, all the stuff that's incredibly boring unless you're really in the IM industry. But those things fit well together. They say, don't just turn up and do some consulting and run away again. You know, you have to be in it for the long haul and know that you're tying your reputation to all this collectively, ourselves and Fusion. So we're used to dealing with multi-year engagements and work with most of the UK operators and increasingly internationally now with the Australia office and the new one in Houston.
Thank you. Well, thank you, gentlemen, both for your time in this and previous videos where we've discussed the digital maturity report. If Fusion and Sword and their partnership can help your business out, visit the Fusion IM website and you find out how to get in contact and find out a bit more about the businesses. And look out for future videos coming soon.